Hello, everyone. Tonight is a very special episode of the Video Call-In Show. Tonight marks the 18th anniversary of September 11th, 2001. And like so many of my colleagues, I thought it appropriate to perhaps host a show commemorating the lives lost, the over 2,996 to be exact, lives lost that fateful day, oh, so many years ago. Now, I want to start off saying that I don't want this to be a sob fest. I'm a firm believer in celebrating life, even when that life has ceased to be. Now, we know that most of those who died, even those who have died in the aftermath, because there are actually many more since, and they continue to stack up. Life is worth celebrating. Life is worth reflecting upon, and tragedies are to be remembered in so much as we don't repeat them. Now, again, I don't want to be over melodramatic about this, but as we all know, it strikes a deep nerve within all of us. It was very close to home, and we can't think for a moment that we're alone in that. There have been these sort of tragedies that have followed us throughout our history as human beings. Um, this just so happens to be one of the most recent, one of the most horrific in in history. Um, and of course, as an American myself and a very patriotic one at that, it's very close, and I know it's very close to you folks as well. So what I decided to do tonight, rather than try to relive much of that, because it's not fun. And in fact, if any of you have made it to the ground zero and the tribute that that they've constructed there post event, you will be moved even more so than all the stories you've seen about it, all the videos you've seen, all of the phone calls and the voicemails that you've listened to, because you get to hear that again. But you also get to hear it in context of seeing the damage up close. I was fortunate enough to have been able to go to New York a couple of years ago and experience just that. And and I was very moved, as you can probably tell. It was life changing, and has been life changing, because the further away you are from these sort of uh, tragedies or events, the harder it is to take it all in. I'll say, and I know that, of course, from uh, from experience. Now, I will say, on the back side of that, that one of the greatest things that came of that was suddenly, for a moment, and this is one of the reasons, since I've done my mourning, and I'm sure many of you have as well, especially those of you who lost close ones, that now is the time that we need to reflect and think about how close we were as a nation and as a people right after that tragedy struck. It was astounding to me how we literally dropped political differences. We dropped philosophical differences. We dropped societal differences, and we all came together as a people. And I hadn't seen that sort of, I'll call it camaraderie, which is an odd thing to say, but camaraderie it was, um, since the bicentennial. And I know most of you were not around for the bicentennial. Some of you were. In fact, we're going to get to talk to some tonight. I will tell you, before I bring on my first guest, and let me go ahead and put up, for those of you who'd like to join the show and tell me a little bit about what it means to you. Where were you? What were you thinking when it happened? What were you thinking in the aftermath? What were you doing in the aftermath? And what have you done since then? Are all things I'd love to hear from you. And even after this is processed, by all means, type in the chat. Let me know, or in the comments below. Let me know answers to those questions. You don't have to answer all of them, but certainly anyone who is alive has something that they can refer to as it relates to this tragedy. And I'm interested to hear that. The only stories we have are those directly related to the tragedy, but the only stories we have are what those that lost their lives that day, the predominantly innocent people that lost their lives that day, their actions and the recordings and the videotapes that we've all seen. At the same time, we also have our memories. We have our actions. We have our reactions to the same, and our memories that we should always use to make the future a better place. So yeah, feel free to call in. It's real easy for those of you who've never been here before. You just point yourself to zoom.us, click on join a meeting, and then enter that meeting number. I've got a green room. You'll show up in it. I'll take as many as I can for about the next hour. And we'll just talk about it, right? We will just talk about it and have, I don't really want to hear about any conspiracy theories. I don't think this is the appropriate venue for that. If you want to debate about whether or not that was a conspiracy on any level, then we can talk about that at some other time. But tonight, let's just talk about how, or, where and why and who and how and all that. All right. Before I get to my first guest, I do want to say hello to you. Thanks for joining us, folks. Emmanuel Goffey, good to see you. Raven the Commentator, 2001, good to see you as well. Got a little bit too much reverb in my voice, I think. Crap, my dad makes me watch. Adam, good to see you. Ed, flashing your pans here. Good to see you as well, my friend. Jesse Mendez is here. Good. Welcome, brother. Good to see you. Wendell Live, always a pleasure. I'm sorry it's hard to stay up this late, Wendell. I totally get it, man. In fact, when Buddy brought my channel up, that was the one thing they said was, 10 p.m. It's kind of late for some people. I get it, man. People got to work. But it's really the only time that works for me. That's why I did the Friday show. Susan Hamilton, how you doing? Good to see you. Drone Kings in Darwin, how are you? My friend from Australia. Above and Beyond Drones, welcome, Jim. Good to see you, my brother, another first responder, guys. Say hello to Above and Beyond Drones. Let's see, who else did I see? Patty Broussard, good to see you as well. Hello. Living Yes, welcome. I would never forget. And that is the thing. Jimmy C and friends, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Yana, always a pleasure to see you here, hon. Hello. Yes, never ever forget. And that is kind of the lesson today, is we can't forget. To forget is one, to open ourselves up to the possibility of it happening again. At the same time, here's the funny part. Before I bring up my first guest, I got to get this off my chest. Terrorism is an act that is designed to change things, either financially, politically, religiously, or just ideology. And if we change the way we function on a daily basis and as a country as a whole, then they win. So whatever you do, whatever never forget means to you, make sure you remember to never forget to go about your daily life. Always be diligent, and aware of your surroundings, but just go about your daily lives. Because the moment you change to appease or to as a reaction to a horrible event, then whomever perpetrated that horrible event has won, and they don't deserve to win. All right, let me do this. Let me bring up my first guest here. I hope you all had a good day, by the way. I hope that this, I know for a fact that this is even, well, it's, how you doing, Easton? How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So, Easton, you weren't around actually for the event, right?
I was not, but see, our family's kind of got a story with it, and I'm not going to go into it because it's a long story and it's not necessarily a good story.
Okay.
But the day that 9/11 happened, my uncle got just hit over.
He did what?
You know, huh?
He did what?
He got ticked off, like he was
Oh,
furious.
just furious over the whole thing that it even
Yeah,
happened.
so
Yeah.
he joined the military
Oh,
after that, and the rest of that story is a long story that I'm not going to go into. Um,
that's fine.
on live. But yeah, so even though I wasn't there, it's still every single time, like if people are like, because of that, like there's kid like I will literally at school, and I try not to do this. I'm like I'm somebody who is very, I don't know if paranoid is a word. I don't think paranoid is a word. Very picky about like patriotic stuff. Like um, I don't like, because like there was one time in middle of class there was a kid who literally started a fight during the Pledge of Allegiance.
During
And
what?
during the Pledge of Allegiance,
Oh, mm-hmm.
and I got so mad at them. I yelled. I didn't yell at them, but I chewed them out. I mean, and that's just kind of because of our family history since September 11th. Um, but even though I wasn't there, I'm still that way just because of everything that happened. So
That's interesting. And I would say you're probably particular about your patriotism. Is that a better descriptive word for you?
yeah, that's a better word for it.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a word. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I got a question for you, because you will be able to give us a unique perspective from someone who wasn't born at the time. And I suppose that's true for, most of us. I could give you the same perspective about World War II as you're probably about ready to give me on September 11th. But now, are they teaching this in your school? Do they go over this event?
They do, but not nearly as much as they should.
Ah, good to know. Good to
Like
know.
today, we literally, in first block, we spent about 5 minutes talking about it,
Wow,
and we had about a 45-second moment of silence second block.
that was good.
That's all. And I know they're paying respect towards it, but I think they need to talk about it more. I'm glad they did the moment of silence, but I think that there should definitely be more than just they didn't even talk about it really. It was like we watched a 5-minute video, and it was just I don't know if you've ever heard of Brain Pop, but it's educational videos
Mm-hmm.
for schools. And so it was really dumbed down a lot, and you really can't get the full perspective of it. I mean, and I understand that because I don't think they've showed the actual videos from
Yeah.
at school before, but I don't know, they don't do that a whole lot. But yeah, they do talk about it at school, but they really need to pay it more respect. I had a teacher. I'm not going to go into this story either because it makes me so mad. I had a teacher that made a comment today. It was a joking comment. He wasn't being serious, but right before the moment of silence, when they came across the intercom, he made a joking comment that made me so mad.
Hmm.
I gave him the death stare through the whole thing. I was so mad at him.
Well,
But
Easton, what you'll have to, you're learning now that there are always going to be people who don't have the same reverence or respect
mhm.
for all sorts of things, and they're going
Yeah.
to they're going to make fun. Fortunately for us, we're in a free country where they can. Fortunately for them, I should say, we're in a free country and they're able to do that.
Mhm.
But for us, it's got to be one of those, uh, you know, uh, a teaching moment, right?
Mhm.
It's not only have we learned more about that person, but we can also shun them in our own way as we see fit, right? I would expect
Yeah.
that if I was being an ass on some sort of subject in that level, and people start, I would expect people to shun me as well if I wasn't doing what I would consider the right thing. So
Mhm. And see, the thing is, whenever some because there's kids every morning who they frustrate me because in my class I am literally like I my 8A class. Whenever we say the Pledge of Allegiance, there's like three people who are
hmm,
actually speaking. Because one day I was like, it's quiet. I turned around, which I usually don't do, but I turned around and I was like, nobody is saying a thing.
yeah,
And generally, I mean, the thing is, I don't really like chew them out. I kind of chew them out in my own way.
hmm,
Where it's not like you're an idiot. Blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like, dude, don't do that. That's no. Like there
yeah.
was one time, and it's not really the worst thing I've ever seen. There's some things I just keep my mouth shut, but because otherwise I don't know what's gonna come out. So,
Well,
um,
expressing your opinion in a calm manner is there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm glad you do that rather than just fly off the handle. That's a mark of
yeah,
character, my friend.
yeah. There's a few times I have to, like whenever the kid during the middle of the Pledge of Allegiance kicked the other dude,
Oh,
uh, and then he fell over on the floor in a joke and just started shaking around on the floor.
hmm,
Teacher didn't do a thing about it, but I was like, I'm just not gonna say anything. I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what's gonna happen. I don't want to blow. Um, but I forgot where I was going with that.
That's okay.
I try to like be like, just don't do that, dude. Like there was one, and the thing is that I think that gets the point across better. That's one thing I always preach is just like, you know, like there was a kid that was walking across the room while doing the pledge, which not the worst thing I've seen. But I was like, hey, dude, don't do that. Stop and pay your 30 seconds of respect. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. And he's told me like 3 days ago that he has not ever walked. Like he stops every time because I didn't yell at him. I wasn't just like you're an idiot. I was just like show respect, dude.
Well, good on you. You're the type of person who gives me hope for the future, and even more so, you're spreading, what I would consider to be common sense and at least a bit of decorum to those who display none. So,
Thank you.
hey, listen, Easton, I've got a few tonight. This has turned into a pretty hot topic, so I'm
Mhm.
I'm gonna move on if
Um,
you don't mind.
yeah, I just want to say one more thing.
Sure.
It's probably not going to happen now because I just thought about this idea this morning. But and once again, I wasn't there for this, but I'm going to find somebody who is a songwriter. It's my dream to do this with Toby Keith, but that's not going to happen. Um, but to do a song, not necessarily about 9/11. But I've seen some Facebook posts about it, and I'm going to do some more research about it
hmm
and talk with people who experienced it. But 9/12, whenever I've seen posts about there was no flags left in the stores because they were all sold out,
Oh yeah.
and that there was people enlisting in the military and all that. I never see anything except for like a Facebook post about it on this day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got the idea this morning. I need to find somebody who was there and write that song. It's 9/12, real simple. Because there's several good songs, and this is where I'm going to end it right here for the night.
Okay.
Like "Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning" by Alan Jackson, and several other ones that I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
Several great songs about 9/11.
hmm
There's nothing about 9/12 that I know of, and that was something that that's a feeling I want to bring back, even though I wasn't there, and that's why it would have to be a co-write. But so yeah,
Well, I think it's a great idea, man. Guys, if you know someone who might want to collaborate on that song venture, you can actually contact me. I'll forward it to Easton if you haven't figured out where his channel is. It's Easton Music Ministries, by the way. I didn't type out your full name, sorry, bud.
Fine.
But you'll see him
I
in the chat.
understand.
Yeah, you'll see him in the chat. You can click on that and visit his page. Otherwise, just contact me and I'll forward it. But that's a great idea, bud. And thanks so
Thank you.
much for sharing.
All right, have a great evening.
You too. I wasn't lying about that. It is fantastic to see, at least somebody in the younger generation who's taken those values to heart and looks at it with the same critical eye that everyone should, especially when it relates to what that means to all of us. I know that was cryptic, but I think most of you know what I mean. Before we bring up our next guest, I do want to say hello to a few more people that I wasn't able to before. I saw King Jelly Bean. How you doing? Welcome to the show. David, producer. Well, always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Outdoorsy Gallo. How you doing, Chrissy? Thanks for being here, guys. Was blind. How you doing? Thank you, Chrissy. I appreciate that. That's a good intro. Recycle Dude. Welcome to the show, man. Good to see you. Washington County News / Utah. How are you doing? Welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before. It's a pleasure to have you. So the show is normally more upbeat. This is just a nice this is just a chat about 9/11 and how it's affected us and perhaps the country as a whole, or the world as a whole, I should say. But thanks for being here. Did I see someone else here a minute ago? I thought I did. Guys, if you have any questions for me or my guests, make sure you do tag me. I've killed Nightbot, so so that I can actually see when you guys do tag me. One Nightbot kept throwing in tags, and I wasn't able to see it. Let's see. Get his name right this time. Let's see. There we go. Okay, let's bring in our next guest and talk to Jesse. Can you hear me? Wait for him to choose his mic there, and we should be good. You're welcome, Easton. Thanks for being here tonight, man. I appreciate that. Hello, Darian, Germany Travel Personal Guide. How you doing, my friend? My brother. Jesse, how you doing, man?
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Surely can.
Alrighty. So we all know I'm really old, and unfortunately, I have a lot of these types of dates in my memory bank, all the way back to John F. Kennedy when he was assassinated. I remember exactly where I was when I heard that. I watched the space shuttle explode. I know exactly where I was at then. Martin Luther King when he was assassinated. And an assassination attempt. So I was at work. I had just gotten into the break room for my break when 9/11 happened. I walked in and the news breaks out, and you see the first videos of the plane crashing into the first building.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped in my tracks, and so did everybody else that walked into the break room. By the time the second plane hit, now I was working at Chrysler in a stamping plant with about, a big plant.
Yeah.
Whole plant stopped, and everybody was in the break rooms. Everybody was in front of TVs watching this live was just, I can't even imagine what it'd been like just even being in the city of New York, because that stopped the whole city, literally stopped the whole city. It stopped our plant. And this is up in Detroit,
Yeah.
The whole plant came to a stop. It was just unbelievable. That week, we probably lost 18, 20 guys because they joined up and went in, within that week. Hey, where'd Jim go? Oh, he re-enlisted. you know, and we had a bunch of guys do that, and some enlisted for the first time. It was a trip. We had a lady who, and I've been wearing this now. Oh, before I go any further, I want to apologize for jumping on you, for not watching, not knowing about my hat. Right? I told you, if you watch my videos, you know, you would see the hat, right?
You called me out, Jesse.
But I apologize because I was wrong. You won't see him in my videos.
Oh.
I'm a creator, so I'll do videos. But you will see him in Prospecting with Ed and Jesse. The other thing you'll see also is this. See that right there?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah.
That flag.
Yep. Here, let me keep it up for Jesse. Yeah.
Okay, that flag I've been wearing since that first week. A lady at work made a bunch of them, sold them for $5 a piece to send for. You know, there was a lot of organizations popping up to help, but she wound up sending something like $3,000 to this organization to help feed the first responders, right? To help, you know, with feeding them and that. And it was really cool. But I've been wearing that ever since. So anytime I got this on, I'm remembering what happened, and people really like it. And when they ask me about it, I tell them about it, and you know, and they remember.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, what 9/11 kind of did for everybody, like you were mentioning, it brought us all together. But it also woke up our country. And because of what happened in 9/11, we are actually a whole lot safer, because you know we got our heads out of our butt and said, hey, the world is a dangerous place. We would love for our country to be utopia and the rest of the world to be utopia, but it's not. You know,
it's true.
It is what it is. So we need to celebrate our resilience, because, like you said, we didn't stop what we were doing. We continued to, you know, we kept on trucking, right?
Yep.
And that's what we do. And that's what makes this great. And that's why we should celebrate this as we remember. We celebrate the fact that, you know, we're still here and we're in a much better place, even though it may not seem like it at times, you know. Like I was telling my wife the other day, you know, you watch the news and you think that the world is coming to an end, but in reality, the news only highlights the squeaky wheel. I explained to her, 4 wheels on a cart, you got a squeaky one. The other 3 wheels are still working. That one's just whining and complaining, you know, until you do something about it, you know. But we are still, you know, working. Yeah. Like with Easton there. Easton seems like an oddity. You know, you would think, because of what you see on the news, that all kids are like what you see on the news, and not very many of Easton's. I think it's the other way around. I think there's a lot more Easton type kids these days than the squeaky wheels, you know. So I really, Easton gives me hope, and you know, and he's not alone. I know he's not alone.
Yeah,
he's not alone.
Jesse, you know? I think you're absolutely right, man. It really is. It really is a case of perception, where we hear about how far we've fallen, but I think like you just said, I think there's a whole lot more in the wings that are still got their head on straight than we give them, you know, the new kids credit for.
Right. Well, I think all kids are kids, and they all need their butts whipped once in a while. But that's just me, you know. Yeah. I can live without them, but you know, we need them.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
My little piece. I wanted to show that tonight because I'm so proud of that.
Yeah, you should be.
All these years, and I will continue to wear it.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
I think it's probably the 3rd jacket.
No, that's awesome, dude. I appreciate it, Jesse. And most of us can't can't appreciate a lot of those other events that you mentioned. I can appreciate several of them, but of course, JFK was shot the year I was born. So,
Dude, I can remember that when that happened. I know exactly where I was.
Yep.
It happened. I was in school. I was walking down the hallway, and the principal come up on the radio. I was just walking by the trophy case when he announced that the president was shot.
Yeah.
And everything came to a stop. I mean, it was like that eerie silence, with everything going on around you, but you couldn't hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so shocking. I was really young.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But that is how it happens, though. That is how it happens, which is both a horrible thing because it's wrapped around a tragedy, but it's a good thing because it says that we're still human, right? If we're inhuman, we would just go on about our business and not even care that those tragedies happen.
And unfortunately, there's even some of those around.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
Someone did something. Oh my God!
You can't have 7 billion people on a planet and not have a large, a chunk of them like that.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna leave before I start getting really political.
Yeah, we don't want to get political tonight. No. Well, Jesse. Well, keep wearing that pin, my friend. That's awesome.
It's not coming off.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing, dude. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. We'll see you.
Yep. Bye.
That's so cool. That is so cool. To have held on to something that long. And it just keeps you aware of what has happened. I so dig that. Let's before I bring up my next guest, let's go over the chat a bit. Was blind. Hope my back is better. My back is doing just as well or as poorly as it was before. Fortunately, though, I have an MRI scheduled for a week from Saturday, so we will be getting to the bottom of that hopefully in short order. Now, I also have to have an X-ray of my face before I get that MRI done. Because back in the military, I had a metal sliver kicked up in the motor pool and stuck in my eyeball. And they asked me if I'd ever had any metal objects in my eye, and I had to tell them. So now they've got to do an X-ray on my face to make sure that nothing's left in. Doug Betts, how you doing? Good to see you. Just got in. Chamber's Garage, how you doing? He says, every class for the rest of the day, we watch TV for updates. Now, that's my son, by the way. It was a silent day, no laughter or talk in the halls. Everyone was quiet all day. I know how that is. I know how that is. Some of the things that happened when I was school, the same thing would apply. Like I said to Jesse, the wonderful part about that is that it reminds us all that we're human, and we're all part of this same experience. And when we do stop, for lack of a better term, smell the roses, or at least take stock of this current situation, it says a lot about us as a species. Above and Beyond Drones says, my brother, he was a New York City corrections officer, was on Vesey Street in Manhattan when they hit the towers. I hope he got out all right, man. Yeah. Champwork says, I got home, walked inside, and there was the video calling show. He means his father. Standing in the middle of the living room, and we continued to watch the TV. I actually, in this house, in that living room right over there, well, down the hallway, we had a big projection screen, rear projection screen television. I remember hearing it because I was in this has been my office forever. And I heard, because I had the television on for background noise, I heard something was going on. I went in there, and the first plane had just hit, and nobody knew exactly what was going on. And like my son says, I literally probably stayed standing up the entire time. I don't blame my back problems on that, but I can remember just standing there thinking, well, am I going to have to re-enlist? Am I old enough? And if memory serves, I was just out of the 35 range, so I couldn't. But yeah, I was thinking all kinds of things. Do I need to weapon up? There's a lot of strange things goes through your head when the attacks are so close like that. And when I say close, I mean relatively. Let's see, who else did? Luke Duke, how you doing? Welcome to the show. Good to see you. Bob Dip, always a pleasure to have you here as well, my friend. Doug Butts says, oh wait, Susan Hamilton says, I was in Alaska. Let me get back to Bob. Bob says, I have a strong patriot streak in me. I was depressed when I was denied the privilege to serve. Bob, the mere fact that you tried is enough for me, brother. Thank you very much for that. And I get the disappointment. Had I not made it in, it would have crushed me as well. Susan Hamilton says, I was in Atlanta doing home health. The lady's husband took care that I took care of worked in Fort Richardson. He had to go into work for the days. Every military base was on a high alert. Yes, they were. Absolutely. Doug Betts says, I was flying with my instructor preparing for my private pilot flight exam and was ordered to land and told over the radio that all the planes in the country were grounded. Yep, I remember that. Just a few more before I bring up my next guest. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Outdoors Gal's talking about, listen to her mom and best friend talking about when JFK died. Another sad time in our country's history. Patty Broussard says, that day was also strong in my memory. We were having a pool built. The guys were working in the backyard. News came on. I brought them all in to watch. It was so sad. It was. It really was. I remember watching the Challenger footage as well. Manamana. Did I get that right? I think I did. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. All right, let's bring up my next guest and talk about his experience. Can you hear me, Ed?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How you doing, man?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. It's definitely a day of remembrance. I was in Palm Springs when it happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Living in Anaheim, working in Palm Springs, and staying at my friend Zodi's, Garcia's girlfriend's house. And, you know, it was pretty early on the West Coast. I'm just kicking back. We turned it to the news. And the next thing you know, they're showing the live footage of the plane hitting. And it was like, what the? Okay. Is it an accident? Can't be an accident. We're being attacked. Then I was pissed. Because I was always one for not joining the service to fight other people's wars, but when they come knocking on our door, I'd be the first in line. And unfortunately, at that age, I was too old. Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. And I will never forget. I remember the Challenger, but can't remember what I was doing when that happened and stuff, and a few others, you know, when Ronald Reagan got shot.
Yeah.
But this is 9/11, and I know there's a bunch of other stuff, you know, conspiracy theories and this and that, but unfortunately, there's always conspiracies going on.
There always is, and the one thing we have to remember is that no matter you know what you think about how it happened, a shit ton of innocent people died.
Oh yeah.
And that's how I tend to approach all that. It's like, you know, we can argue
3,000 or so.
The number's over 3,000. The actual official number was 2,996. But several have died since then from, you know, their injuries and
all the dust and silica and
yep.
bodies they breathed and all that.
Right, like a lot of first responders, they they have lasting effects. In fact, our stupid ass government has been screwing them ever since the event on being taken care of. But that's a whole nother story. That's government in action, or I should say, government failure yet again. But no, it's the fact that that those people die and continue to die is the truly sad part about this whole thing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Ronald Reagan was right when he said, like, the scariest thing you could hear is someone saying, "I'm from the government here to help."
Yes.
But,
I remember when he said that. I remember when he said that.
It's a day we can't forget, and like Jesse and you said, I believe the majority's silent. The young patriots and the young conservatives and stuff, or even the young ones who love freedom. You know,
Yeah.
we don't care how you live. As long as you do no harm to others, I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I just don't want it to be forced upon me. You know what I mean? I don't care what you do behind your closed doors or without harming others.
Right. And that might be a different show too, Ed.
We've touched base on some things, and I don't want to, like Jesse, I don't want to get all political and ideological, but apparently, I loved how the country came together and dropped differences afterwards.
Yeah.
The patriotism really shined, but unfortunately to me, it seemed like it was like a massive fire. It ignited so much that it went out way too quick.
Yeah, and I share that. It's a matter of character. People who continue to look at it like I think that I'm talking to most people that way. There's a whole slew of them, but there are always going to be those that are a more fad oriented, right? So patriotism for that day was the fad of the day. So they fell in and they did what they thought was right, and it was probably appreciated depending on what they did. But memories are so short for a lot of people that they tend to forget, and then of course that does no one any service, especially not them. So. But all we can do, Ed, is influence those around us, and anyone that we meet who has let go of that same feeling that we all had on the 12th, actually later on the 11th,
Right.
doesn't forget it. Am I right?
Yeah. You're right.
So,
well, I'm sure you have a lot of people in your green room.
I do actually.
So,
Ed, thanks so much, man.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it, dude, as always. And yeah, always pleasure to hear your side, Ed. Seriously.
You have a good one. Hello, Chris, and thank you.
Absolutely, dude. We'll talk to you later. All right.
Yep.
Thanks again, Ed.
Later.
Bye-bye. And like Ed said, for those of you who have joined since I've come on, I don't want to get political about this tonight. This is more of a day of remembrance, to a certain extent, a celebration of the lives that were lost, for at least what they had before they were lost. And as a reminder, not to forget, because those who ignore or forget the past are doomed to repeat it. And of course, none of us wants that. I do want to say hello to Chris Hope. How you doing? Echo Swift, hello to you, my friend. There's one of my old supporters. I'm good to see you. Awesome epic adventures. Yes, I did get my my technical problems fixed. Sorry about that last night, guys. But it was a camera IP issue, and I've got all my cameras running through my network. So if one loses its IP address, why it it means zero video, and it's quite a process to change that because it's all going to be done programmatically. You can't just walk into the admin. Um, Not a great gamer. How you doing, my friend? New Orleans girl. Hello, new here. Well, welcome to the show. Um, like I've told many since I started here, this show is much more, lighter in its format normally. But today we're just having a nice show about remembrance, and I'm glad you joined us, and I hope you'll join us again. But let's do this real fast. Let's bring up our next guest. All right, let me. Can you hear me? I'm running out of time here tonight. Hello, Raven.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I've heard almost everyone's stories about 9/11. Well, what if I told you that I was a baby during 9/11? How would you feel?
I wouldn't feel anything really. My son was a baby when that happened.
Yeah, and I was like, so picture this.
It's not your fault, by the way.
Yeah, picture this. I was a 3-month-old baby at the time that this happened. My parents, I think we were living like in an apartment at the time, and then suddenly there comes the time when we had to like turn on the TV, and then my dad sees what's going on, but my mom and I think we were somewhere else. Admittedly, a lot of us, we were pretty scared about it, but I didn't really know much about a 9/11 until I got older. And when I put 2 and 2 together with all the recent shootings here, like the El Paso shooting, there was like the El Paso shooting in Walmart, and there was there was like an earlier shooting like in a Planned Parenthood in Colorado Springs. And when I put 2 and 2 together, then I realized that, oh, no, it makes sense now. I mean, sure, we've got like the Columbine high school shooting back in the 1990s, and that was one of the worst mass shootings in history. But none of these can top 9/11 as like the national American tragedy, and that's what brought everyone as a nation together. Like it didn't matter, like political differences didn't matter, like disabilities, nothing really mattered. What mattered is that we united as a nation, and we came together to try to stop terrorism.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And I'm so glad that you remember it that way. Or at least you were taught that. Again, that gives me hope for a future.
Because my parents and I, we were talking about it. Like my dad and I talked about it. He said, they didn't want my mom and I to be scared or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was just I think it was like watching the whole thing, and I think I remember just me being a baby, and I didn't really think much of it because when you were a little kid and when you were born and then a tragedy happens, you don't remember much of it until you get older. And when they talk to you about it, you'll put 2 and 2 together with other shootings you live with going around, and then you realize that it's all coming together.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is absolutely true.
Yeah, and like one of the reasons why I have an American flag hanging up in my room is just so I could remember exactly why I came to America, why I am in America to begin with, and that's just to share patriotism and show the American kindness to everybody, not just to people who are like me, just trying to unite the nation just as we are. And with like today's political climate, I feel like being united is really needed in this day and age. Think about it.
Oh, you got that right.
Everywhere you look, people seem to be promoting different political ideologies and different lifestyles. I mean, showing the 9/11 videos would be a perfect way to demonstrate unity in an American way.
Yep.
And this also can be carried into, and kids who are first learning this can also carry this into their teen years as well, when things start happening and they really, really need to put two and two together, kind of like I did.
Well, you know, we have to depend on you and folks like you in your generation to continue to do that, Raven.
Yeah, and I am, and you know, just like Easton, I have my share of patriotism. I mean, anytime like there was like a kid in middle school one time, and we were reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. This was middle school, and one kid, I'm trying to laugh here, but there was like this one part where we go like one nation under God, and then this kid, he just goes under Jesus, and like I'm like, no, that's not how you recite the national, like the Pledge of Allegiance. That's kind of disrespectful. I mean, come on, show some respect. I mean, I don't want it to be like Easton, but really, and like, you know, I always try and in school, I remember like sharing the Pledge of Allegiance all the time. And now that I'm in college, I don't think, do they do the Pledge of Allegiance in colleges?
No, I bet they don't. No.
No, I bet my community college does. I mean, I get a choose my own class schedule. Usually when classes start, they don't recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
But I remember like back from like, you know, my kindergarten to all the way to the end of high school, I remember like reciting like the Pledge of Allegiance, like heart to heart. And it's and I remember saying these words: I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that's also because, like, you know, my dad, he was a Marine for 4 years before I even came into the picture.
Wonderful. You know, that's probably the first time I've heard that in years. Awesome. Well, thanks, Raven. I so appreciate that, and I mean it when I say that it's up to folks like you to carry the torch as the new generation, and
exactly.
And I think you will. I get that from you. So so thank you so much for that. Well, I've got to move on, but
all right.
I so appreciate your joining and giving your perspective on it, and I do.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, and.
Have a nice night.
Same to you, hon.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Another good one. And there are so many of those that I've learned or I've met on this show, which is fantastic. And son, I'm sorry, I did as a brain fart, I shaved 10 years off your age. I didn't mean to do that. He wasn't a baby. He was at least 12. Maybe I could start the show with Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know, probably not, Wendell. But thanks for the suggestion. I wear my favorite hats. I am unabashedly a supporter of course, United States, my military, the first responders. For those of you who don't know, this is usually fire and police. The thin red line and thin blue line. I love this tactical patch. It's one of my favorites. Let's see. Did I see any more questions? That's my boy. Oh, look, is Busha Studios in here? That's nice. Andrew, Xenia, thank you for being here. If you're still around, I appreciate you joining us. they had a great tribute today. They actually had a guest on who I believe was in the Pentagon, or at least tied to the Pentagon somehow. I didn't get to watch it. I was the wife and I had many things to take care of, but it seemed like a great show. I got to poke my head in every once in a while. New Orleans girl says, I had numerous friends living and working in New York City on 9/11. I lived in PA, Pennsylvania at the time, and was watching it home on TV. Waiting word from all those friends was incredibly difficult and stressful. I hear you. I hear you, New Orleans girl. Let's see. Echo Swift says, yes, it pisses me off when people say how bad it is, but they're looking at the negative news. Probably 10% of school are against patriotism. It makes me mad at how blind people can be to the other 90%. Echo, you are absolutely right. It's exactly what Jesse and I were just talking about, where we're both certain that there are more, I'll just say, patriots out there than that's perceived to be, thanks to the news cycle, right? Because like he said, squeaky wheel gets the grease, and the squeaky wheel is always the outlier. And since we've got a 24-hour news cycle, they've got to fill it with something. And those sort of things that make our blood boil are usually, well, if it bleeds, it leads. If it makes our blood boil, then it's going up there as well. So you're right, Echo. You're absolutely right. Thanks for chiming in on that one. Echo, we're not blaming it on your generation. I actually blame it on my generation. It's arguably a boomer problem, in that they are not bringing up good Gen Xers and good millennials, and that really pisses me off, because they were taught better from one of the greatest generations that's ever lived. They were taught better, and they're falling down on the job. So no, not at all there, bud. Not at all. Maybe some are, but not me. All right, let's bring up our next guest here. Oh, me and my typing. Can you hear me?
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, man.
Good to hear your voice, David.
Always great to see you and to be on.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Much appreciated. But if you don't mind, I'm going to tell you a story that actually leads into another story, but I'll keep it brief, I promise you.
Okay. Go right ahead.
So September 7th of that year, of course, 2001, I was a director of sales for a tech company out of California, and we had an office out of New York, and went there the 7th. And one of my guys that worked for me, this guy Mike, I won't say his last name, but Mike joined me. For one of my friends was actually a drummer for the Buckinghams and played in between the Twin Towers, just a block away from the offices. And we watched their show that week. You know, it was a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Just a free concert. We had a blast. It was such a great time. And then fast forward to that next Tuesday, which of course was the 11th. And we turned on the TV. I was working from home that day out of Chicago. Turned on the TV, saw what was going on, just absolute mayhem, just like everyone else saw, right? No one could believe it. No one could figure out what was going on at the time. And my guy that worked for me, Mike, was kitty corner from the Twin Towers. He called me and said, hey, there's stuff going on here at the office. Should we stay? And I said, no, get out of there. Get the whole team out of there. Don't hang around. And he ended up getting everyone out of the office, but he stuck around and saw people dropping out of the windows. You know the whole story, right? Where he just saw all the mayhem go on. And when he saw the first building start to come down, he ran down and I can't remember the avenue name, but he ran down south, like towards the financial district, to get away from the building. And he ended up seeing probably about 10, between like 8 and 10, he told me, people actually jumping out of windows before the building came down. And he ended up dedicating his life towards a nonprofit that helped 9/11 survivors, and he's still the director of that non-for-profit today. So, I mean, for what bad has happened and did come out of that, to have something, like that life-changing moment for someone that that actually did something from it, that's amazing to me. It just is amazing.
To me too. That's awesome. Sad that it had to go, down that road, but
Right.
but that is awesome. David, if you say this organization is still around, feel free to find it, put a link in the chat in case someone wanted to reach out, because there are still people suffering from this.
Absolutely. I'll
18
make
years
sure
later.
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to call Mike out because he's the senior director of that organization.
Well,
I don't want to out him, but I certainly can put a link in for the website.
Yeah. That's all I'm asking. That would be great, because I know people always want to help, and who knows who's going to see this down the road. And if it's still in operation, we know there's still help that's needed. So yeah, go right ahead, man. Drop that in there whenever you can. That'd be great.
Absolutely, and he started out as a volunteer. Right up. Matter of fact, he quit. It was so awful times, right? I mean, no one knew what was going on. He called me I think it was 2 or 3 weeks later, said, I've reevaluated my life, what I want to do, and I want to be a volunteer for this organization that paid him nothing at first. And he did that for a couple of years. Then he ended up becoming an actual employee. Then he became a director. Now he's executive director of this fund. So I'm really proud of the guy. And every day that goes by, I cannot not think about Mike and what he's done for our country, for 9/11, for the people that have perished, for the families. That's just freaking amazing.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's fantastic. I love hearing stories about those people who've gone above and beyond, right,
Yeah.
for a cause that they believe in. Thanks so much for that, dude.
Oh, my pleasure, man. And we'll chat with you soon, buddy.
All right, pal. Thanks again, David. I don't know about you guys, but that is arguably one of the best things ever. Not everyone is cut out or drawn to a life-changing mission such as that, tragedy or no tragedy, but when it does happen, it's really a wonderful thing, because you know where they're at on that, and that's fantastic. If I missed anything in the chat, guys, before I bring up our next guest, I don't believe so. A lot of great conversations going on in the chat. I haven't been able to keep up with much of it, but let's do this. How shall I refer to you, my friend? Can I just call you by your first name, or you associated with a channel? You look so familiar.
Hang on a second.
Sure.
This is JD Tremaine.
Oh, okay. When we get you,
please get my real name off of there.
Thank you. It won't show up.
I don't even know why it's there. I don't have it in there at all.
Here we go, JD. How are you, man?
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good to have. Did I spell that right? TREMAI.
The E on the end won't kill anybody. I promise.
Oh, I can fix it.
If it does.
Bam.
It's okay. Jim will pay the bill. Promise.
Well, JD, thanks for joining the show, man. What are your thoughts?
Oh God, it's a lot of stuff. First of all, I guess the big thing is everybody's talking about what they were doing that day. So, I was actually asleep. I went to work at 10 and I was in the Midwest at the time. So I was asleep. My cousin called me and I hadn't heard from her in forever. She's like, do you have to go back into the military? Because if you've been in, you know about the inactive ready reserves.
Yeah.
I just finished my obligation the month before. So what had happened is she's like, do you have to go back in? I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh my gosh, I'm so scared because there's terrorist attacks and all this. Like, what are you talking about?
It's not a good wake up, is it?
Yeah. Go turn your TV on. Okay, so, and for you kids out there, you will never understand the convenience of cell phones. So the phone next to my bed, put it down, run downstairs, pick up the phone down there, run back upstairs, put the phone down, go turn the TV on, and boom, there it is, live, full effect. I'm like, how do you even process something like that in real time?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Difficult to process.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Now, I worked at a university at an NPR station. So for me, the thing was, I then went to work, and all day long we had the AP Newswire going, along with everything else that was going on. So stuff coming in from national, stuff on the AP Newswire. So what I was doing was people that were calling or message boards or whatever, I was literally just copying and pasting whatever was coming in from the AP at that time, trying to get some sense of what was going on. But of course, nobody knew anything. So nobody knew anything. And the crazy thing to me is, for some people where I worked, I may have been the only person they'd ever met that had been in the military before. So they're asking me, well, do you think we're going to go to war? Do you think this? Like, I don't know, but I don't see how the country can abide any kind of attack and not respond. You're just opening the door up for further action. You have to do something. What the response is, I don't know. I'm not a military advisor. I'm not a strategist. I don't know. But something's got to happen from your policy perspective.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny. I got those same questions because I was in the same situation where not a whole lot of people that I was running with had been in the military, and they're looking to me for answers.
Yeah, and it's like, I maintain the network and the computers and all this. I don't know what they're going to do in Washington, but I bet it's going to be expensive, and there's going to be a pretty big body count, whatever it is.
Yep.
So, and I remember everybody was freaked out at that time. And the thing that concerns me, speaking from, everybody's been talking about what their thing is. For me, the thing is, it was how, in a way, we lost America. Not, there's still a country there, but the things that made America great in the first place. Sorry about this. I'm a fat guy, and it's just jiggling against my belly. Can't help it.
No, that's quite all right, man.
But the rights, the freedoms, the privileges. I mean, I knew a couple that they used to, they would just every once in a while, it's Friday. They would go to the airport and they'd say, what's the first flight out of here? Albuquerque? Okay, let's go to Albuquerque for the weekend. So they would just go, get on a plane, they would go wherever they're going, and they'd find something to do while they were there. You can't do that anymore.
No, not in the same way at all. No.
And I guess the thing that really, really frustrates me is we lost all this. We had so many people that cheered it on, that it was okay. Oh, they have to have these powers in order to protect us. Well, okay, but we had intelligence reports. They knew this was coming, and they ignored it.
Yeah.
All the people out there that just blindly, you rah, there's the flag. And if you say anything, you're a traitor. It's like, I'm not a traitor. I served. I did that. But I served for the rights of people. The people to disagree with me. The people to not agree with this country, or the policy, or anything else. And it's like, they blindly cheered on as these rights were taken from us. They complain and they're shocked that, the previous administration used spying powers against the current administration. Where do you think they got the authorization from? And you cheered them on as they took your rights away, and they increased surveillance, and you did that. So for me, it's like, where is that America? Where is that freedom? When do we get it back again? When do we get the right to just get on a damn plane and go somewhere without being harassed, without having to give having to give 10 different forms of ID.
Mhm.
I mean, are we going to get to the point where we have to carry papers around with us? I mean, if we are, let's just go, you know, at that point, we are Soviet Russia.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
even pretend?
Yeah, JD, I couldn't
You
have
know,
said it better, man. And I'm so there with you. I still can't believe, and not specific to this event, how people will so easily give up freedoms for a little bit of safety, which of course, you know, is non-existent anyway. But it's so easy, it seems, and it blows my friggin' mind. That is the inability to critically think about what you're doing.
well, and to do anything about it.
Yeah.
How many people contacted the representatives when the Patriot Act was put out and said, if you vote for this, I am voting you out of office. I am fundraising for anybody else. I am working to run candidates against you. You will not do this. None of this is necessary. It was all just an update for federal police powers, essentially.
Yeah.
Which was then used against the American population.
That's true. That's true.
Come on, guys.
I know. Yeah. What people so soon forget that, you know, freedom is not easy, and it's dangerous. But I would rather have dangerous freedom than safe slavery.
That's true.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep.
Well,
JD,
I'll let
that's
you get out of here. You probably got like 100 other people in the lobby.
I do have
Now
quite a
I've said
few,
that,
but
you probably have like 20 more people ready to respond and say, I ain't no blind patriot.
well, that could be, but we're not going to get into any. I don't see that as political. I see that as a freedom issue. It should apply to every single one of us. So I don't expect anything from that perspective. But listen, JD, I'd love to have you back on a regular show.
Sure,
just
happy
to chat. I'm so appreciative that you came on, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Oh, and for your service as well, brother.
Oh, you too.
Thanks
See
a
you
lot, JD. All right. Let's see if I can get my stuff here together. I wasn't ready for that. But he's right, folks. And like I said, I don't see that as a political issue at all. It's literally a human issue. The easiest way to talk yourself into slavery is to look to a government or an authoritative body to protect you as an individual. One thing that most people don't realize is that even though on the side of most police cars it says to protect and serve, they are under no obligation to protect you. They're there to keep the peace, but they are not there to protect you. And that, in fact, there was a Supreme Court decision that said that very thing. So you are responsible for your own safety, and freedom is a dangerous thing, but it's a necessary evil. And I'll leave it there. So let's bring up my next guest and maybe get a perspective from over the pond. And Angel, you're going to be my last one after Not a Great Gamer. So hang out there. Let's see. How you doing tonight, man?
Just setting up my webcam. Woo! I've got a bit of colour in me today.
You do.
I wanted to be a bit serious for once.
No one appreciates that more than I do, my friend. Seriously.
Sorry, my hair's a mess. I just wanted to say,
oh, you look great. You look great.
Albeit briefly, because I don't want to take too long. One of the greatest tragedies in modern time. I actually was crying about it when Dave mentioned about his friend's website, because even though, you know, I'm not going to go, I'm English, because, you know, we all know that it was, but as a fellow nation, I don't think you could have had a brother nation more angry and shocked than we were. I remember coming home. I was on my way home from school. My friend pulled up with his mother beside me in the car. Just shouted out the window, World War III started. Didn't have a a clue what was going on, you know. Went home, turned on the TV, and probably the reaction that everyone else had. Oh my God, probably those 3 words. I saw that plane hit the second building, and I'm actually welling up again. I don't give a shit what anyone says. No kid should have to see that. No kid, even on TV, should have to witness people jumping out of buildings. I remember watching this one interview. I can't remember the name of the man. He was standing there, and then you could hear banging behind him. And they asked him, "What is it?" And he says outright, "It's people jumping from the building because they'd rather die than burn to death."
Yeah.
Over 300 fire officers, I think it was. I can't remember the exact numbers. You know who ran in there. To run into a building that looks like it's going to cataclysmically fall down at any moment, and you run in there, defying all human instinct. Those people should be given like the greatest honor that your land can give. And
many of them have.
Although, you know, the memorial's beautiful and all of that, I do feel that this has been buried under the carpet. I do feel that this has been forgotten. To the extent of it angers me. I mean, we forget about it again and it will happen again. I know that sounds silly, but
not at all.
First time in my life I've ever seen jet fighters flying over my own country ready for war, slowly patrolling. You could see the freaking missiles on them. I just hope it never happens again. And I get so angry yet so teary at the same time thinking about it. And even to this day, probably the most primitive, illogical thing you could think. But even when it happened at the age of 14, I had that mentality of, I just want to get a gun, I just want to go over there and I just want to kill them. And even to this day, when I think about it, it gets me that angry. It is honestly one of the sorest moments. And this is going to sound horrible. I'm glad it came out I'm glad it happened before the era of phones. So you didn't have every single child being traumatized, standing on the streets, watching this wherever they were. Maybe I've worded that wrong.
No. That's actually a really, really good point, man.
It's like even now I'm sitting there in the back of my head, I'm just thinking, just grab a rifle, just go over there and just. It's such a primitive thought. It's
well, it is, and it's a natural reaction, right? Don't act on it, but
I actually woke up today, and I will admit, because we have our date system different, don't we? We'd say it's the 11th of the 9th. So when I first woke up this morning, I didn't even remember it was 9/11, and at about 11 a.m. it just hit me. And it was like remembering that a relative had died a week before. I just had that feeling of nausea. And I've actually felt it all day. I didn't lose anyone in the attack, but 9/11 for me every year is a somber day on the calendar, because it's when I kind of reflect on a massive shitty event that could have been averted. I don't want to, go into conspiracy theories and all that, because that's just disrespectful. But I think there are issues there, but just more of the fact of it just happening, and that there's still people, as Dave the producer said, all over the world, because it happened. So many nationalities suffer from that, and they're never going to recover. They're never going to get justice. They're always going to be stuck in that loop. And I wished I could help them. Yeah, I'm gonna shut up because I'll actually start crying on your stream.
Oh well, no, I get it, dude. I get it, and heartfelt words help. As much as I'd like, many people would think that it's too little and just not enough. I would disagree. in that there's only so many or so much we can do. But I think honoring their memory is one of the greatest things we can do, because what we do when we do that is we perhaps save another tragedy from happening again. So,
I bloody hope. I mean, I know, because like we had 7/7 here, didn't we? The London bombings.
Yeah.
As well, and horrific as they were, they pale in comparison to that. It's just, I suppose they did win to an extent, because the object of terrorism is fear.
That's right.
And yeah, I do fear that a plane's going to plow into another building sometime soon. To this day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to go around in circles. I'm just going to shut up. But I hope, you know. I just wanted to say, like, to America, like, we love you, and 20 years on nearly, we're so fucking sorry. There's just nothing that can be said.
Well, that means a lot, man. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm sure everyone who's listening appreciates that.
I've even come on camera with my embarrassing poor excuse of a beard, which I was supposed to shave off before I come up. People now thinking, who's this homeless twat on the camera in front of me? It's me, gamer.
You look fine, man.
I don't. I really don't. But thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for sharing, man. We do appreciate that.
I literally look like a hairy arsehole. Anyway, yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind sharing. Thank you for having me.
Certainly.
Sorry if I was not my normal self. It's just, this is such a deep subject. I could honestly just talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
But we'd end up getting angry. So
yeah.
I'm
yeah.
just gonna go.
Let's leave it as a tribute. Thanks, buddy.
This is just a tribute. I love that song, but I'm not going to sing today. I'm just going to leave it on a high note and say, God bless you all.
Thank you. We'll see you, bud.
Sausages.
I had to get that in, didn't he? Oh, let's see. Jesus. If I missed anyone in the chat, I hope not. JD Tremaine, you are a good person. You are now a moderator, folks. If you're wondering how all these good people got wrenches, they've actually been on the show. I'm not sure if you have American Gold Prospectors, but how you doing? Yes, I bought. I didn't buy any weapons, but I certainly bought a lot of ammo that week for sure. All right. Okay, let's see. Oh, Jelly Duck. I didn't say hello to Jelly Duck. I'm so sorry, man. How you doing, Ahmed? Good to see you, man. Let's bring up our last guest. Let me change your name there.
Hello.
Angel, you were one of those, whoops, spelled it wrong, who was probably around, what, 10, 11 when all this went down?
I was 11 years old when the September 11th attack happened in 2001. And the McKenna said she was only a 3-month-old baby when it happened. Well, I was an 11-year-old, and the day that happened was basically me wondering what is going on. Like, what? Like, I had no idea what was happening, and it was broadcast all around the cable and news. And I was also in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the time of the attack. And I was in the midst of like watching a TV show. I can't remember what it was, because when I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico with my dad and my brother and sister, we were watching, I was watching a whole bunch of shows like Supermarket Sweep, Jerry Springer and such, but I know it was some form of show that would be playing most often in 2001. And I was wondering what, and then I just wasn't exactly sure, because it's something that I wasn't not knowing what was going on at the time.
Sure. Yeah. were you able to process it once you figured out what it was?
Yeah, once I was able to process it, it really made me like, oh God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was something else. Something else. I can only imagine. You heard JD Tremaine. He was, or was it JD, or was it Not a Great Gamer? I think he was talking about nobody should have had cell phones back then. And he's right, because that would have spread like wildfire, and a whole bunch of kids your age then and younger would have been exposed to this, and that would have just been devastating. So I guess we're lucky for that, but
And social media was around because in 2001, it was, I believe, a couple years prior to the introduction of MySpace. Then came MySpace, became Facebook, and then came Twitter and such.
Yeah.
The social media was around in the late 1990s or the year before the 9/11 attack. The stuff would be spreading like wildfire, and people would draw in all forms of conclusions without waiting for it to come up with like the results and such. And just like today's world, people come up with strange things. But for me, at the time, I just didn't consider what anyone said, because I just had a knack and of like respect for people that had to go through the attack. And I also wrote a like 2-page journal, I believe in 2006 or 2007. It was like on the 5th or 6th anniversary of the 9/11 attack, and I and everyone in the classroom had to write a story about their about what they thought about the 9/11 attack. And my journal was so long, it was just like something that I can't remember anymore, because that was back when I was in my teenage years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was cool though, that that they remembered it in that way and had you write up those essays, because I imagine that that a lot of times when you write down how it is you're affected by something, it helps you release any pent up anger or confusion and that sort of thing. So, did you find that it helped you to write it all out?
Yeah, it helped me write it all out, and I definitely. Oh, excuse me.
That's okay.
I was able to give a more detailed story of what I did and experienced, and I kept that journal page throughout the years. But it's just that at the time, a lot of the stuff that people wrote wasn't really part of a homework assignment, because many students on a daily basis in special needs class had to write a journal topic, and usually the topic is mostly selected by the teacher and sometimes suggested by a student. And I didn't even think about keeping the pages that I wrote on the 9/11.
Yeah, yeah. And that's probably just as well. I mean, getting it out, getting it off your chest, that may have been enough, at least for your own health. Well, Angel, thanks.
But the other good thing about the attack is it got me closer to my family, as opposed to what my family is like today. Because it was really close to, I was really close to my dad. I was really close to my sister and brother and such. But nowadays, the only person I hang around with is my sister and my brother, and I enjoy them more than anything else in today's world. And also to all the people that still think that the 9/11 was an inside job. I know you said no conspiracy things and such at the beginning of the stream, but it's just that a lot of people have the conspiracy that it was an inside job. If you believe that, keep that to yourself, and just the honor the fact that we as a world is still living even after that treacherous attack back in 9/11. Because if more missiles like the ones that went to the Twin Towers would go in other parts of the world, like in Boston, Massachusetts, or Brooklyn Bridge in New York as well, or even in the city of San Francisco, if other missiles were to be launched and directed parts of the U.S., we would be at war by now, or we would be at war in the time that the president sent troops to Iran.
Okay, cool. Good good to know, Angel. Can we leave it there then?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
buddy. Hey, listen, thanks a lot for sharing. I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
like I said, it's always good to hear stories about especially those people who survived 9/11, since we can't.
Yeah, and glad just that I was able to be closer to my family and such during the time and need. And there were so many specials later on in that year, from news reports to documentaries.
So a minor silver lining, which is nice. And
Yeah.
all right, buddy. Well, hey,
You'll always be the silver lining here on YouTube.
thanks, Angel. I appreciate that, buddy. All right, I'm gonna close this one out. I appreciate it, pal. Oh, you're locked up. Okay. Well, Angel knows. Okay, I'm gonna close her down, Angel. Thanks so much, bud.
All right, I think I had a connection issue there for
You
a
did.
second.
All right. Yeah. Well, we'll talk to you later, bud.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Always a pleasure having Angel on. So yeah, folks, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. I think it's thank you, Wendell. I appreciate that. There are going to be lighter topics coming up for sure. But I do hope you enjoyed this show. I think it was I just wanted to put wanted to put a change up in the mix, and hear from you guys, because we're all the ones that have our boots on the ground, and I think it's very important to get those perspectives, at least of, like I said, those I consider survivors of 9/11, which most of us are, and we're the only ones that can talk. All we're left with is the memories of those who didn't survive 9/11, and that would go for other tragedies as well. Thank you for pointing those out as well, Jesse, and listen, all I can say is that even more now than ever, and I say this not as a cliche, but literally to make one think about how it is that they treat their fellow human beings. Good people will treat their fellow human beings the way they would want to be treated. Cream rising to the crop, that tells me that those that have no intention of treating others in a good way will sink to the bottom. But we've all got to be diligent. We've all got to do our part in remembering these sort of tragedies. Take what JD was talking about as well. We've also got to remember to protect our freedoms and not allow tragedies like this we don't give, in other words, the idea is not to give government power to take away our freedoms just because there's been a tragedy, because the last thing the government's going to provide is safety. They can protect us from enemies, both foreign and domestic, but they are not going to protect you individually. They're not going to provide you safety. So do not give them the power to remove your liberties. And I'm going to leave it with that. Thanks to all my guests. Thanks for everyone who decided to stay with us. You guys are the reason I do this. And rather than go through a lengthy end screen, I'm not going to put an end card on this, but I'm going to leave the next 30 seconds as a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.